Welcome back, everyone. If you've ever lived alone even for a short time, you know the eerie silence that creeps in late at night can start playing tricks on your mind. But sometimes, it's not just your imagination. Sometimes, the fear is real and it's living under your roof. This story happened to me in 2023, when I was going through a rough patch with my dad. Things at home were tense, too many arguments, too much stress, so I made the decision to move out temporarily. A friend of a friend was going through his own personal issues and needed someone to sublet his place. A small, standalone cabin-style rental. I'll just refer to him as my landlord to keep things simple. The setup was actually ideal for my situation. The cabin was paid month to month, which was perfect for a temporary break from my home life. It had a quaint, rustic charm to floors, if you want to call it that, with a small kitchen, decent living area, and a loft-style bedroom you could only access by climbing a short wooden staircase and lifting a hatch-like door. That part was quirky, almost fun at first. By the second month, I'd already paid rent and was fully moved in. The place was at the very end of a dirt road, surrounded by other cabins. One of them always looked vacant. No lights, no cars. The others were occupied, but I'd never actually met the neighbors. It was peaceful, isolated, quiet. That night, I had just gotten home from a brutal 12-hour shift. I was exhausted. I made a PB&J sandwich, washed it down with a protein shake, and climbed up to the bedroom. As always, I shut the floor hatch behind me. The lack of a lock on that door always unnerved me, just a flat, creaky board between me and the rest of the house, but I did it every night anyway. It was a habit, made me feel a little more secure. I was watching TV in bed when I heard it. A voice, clear as day. "Who's up there?" It sounded like it came from inside the house, but also possibly from just outside. Either way, it was close. I sat bolt upright, heart pounding in my chest. I immediately muted the TV and crawled to the circular window above the bed, squinting into the night. I couldn't see anyone, but the darkness outside was thick. "Who's there?" I called out. Nothing, trying to keep calm. I opened the floor hatch and peered down the staircase, whispering my dad's name just in case he had come by. Still silence. I eventually crept downstairs and flicked on the living room light. Everything looked normal. No movement. I turned on the front porch light and looked out. Still no sign of anyone. I told myself it had to be someone outside messing around. I shut everything off, climbed back upstairs, and closed the hatch again. But before I could even get settled back into bed, I heard it bang, bang, bang. 3 loud pounds from underneath, someone hitting the hatch from below. I froze. This wasn't my imagination. Someone was inside. I didn't move. The hatch had no lock. If they wanted to come up, they could. My heart was thudding. I laid there in complete silence, unmoving, barely breathing. I don't know how long I waited, probably 20 minutes, until I finally worked up the nerve to search for my phone, only to realize it wasn't on my nightstand. I checked my bag. Nothing. I must have left it downstairs, so I opened the hatch just slightly and peeked out. The TV light created this slow, flickering glow across the staircase. With no sound below, I slowly descended, barefoot, every step deliberate. Once I reached the bottom, I bolted through the back door into the cold night and sprinted toward the only house with its lights still on. I banged on the neighbor's door, calling for help, asking for a phone to call the police. Someone appeared at the window next to the door, an older man, and just stared at me. No reaction, no concern. Just this blank, unmoving expression. Something about that moment made my skin crawl. I stepped back slowly, realizing he had no intention of helping me. I scanned the area, no other lights, no sign of life from any other home. A horrible thought hit me. What if he's involved? I returned to my cabin, quietly closing the back door behind me. I turned on every light, searching not just for the intruder but my phone. I eventually found it in my car's center console. I had left it there after work in my rush to get inside earlier. When I went back into the house, the TV upstairs was still on. I climbed the stairs one last time, tired, heart still racing, and when I reached the top, my entire body locked up. There was a man sitting on my bed, staring at the TV like he lived there. When he slowly turned to look at me, I screamed and immediately ran back downstairs and out the door, slamming it behind me. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and finally called 911. While I was on the line with dispatch, I saw movement in the backyard. A shadowy figure walking into the woods, calmly, silently. The police eventually showed up. One officer checked the house, including the loft bedroom. The intruder was gone. I explained what happened, and he asked if I had another place to stay. So I did the only thing I could die, swallowed my pride, and drove back to my dad's place that night. The next day, I went back, gathered my stuff, and told the landlord I was leaving. He offered a partial refund without much discussion. When I described the man I saw, he got strangely quiet. He didn't ask any follow-up questions. Honestly, that unsettled me even more than the break-in. I still wonder if it was all connected. The weirdly vacant house next door, the neighbor who wouldn't speak, the landlord's vague departure, and the man who sat on my bed like he'd been there before. Maybe it was all a coincidence, or maybe I stepped into something that was never meant for me. It was a Tuesday night around 11 p.m. back in 2013. I was walking home from work down a dimly lit street, exhausted, earbuds in, just trying to zone out. My car had been in the shop for a week, so walking 3 miles home every day had become my reluctant routine. Thankfully, the walk was just under an hour, and I was usually through the door by midnight. I live or used to live in a quiet little town in southern Indiana, the kind of place where nothing ever really happens. After 10 p.m., the streets are basically deserted. The only vehicles you might see are semis cutting across town toward Indianapolis. About a mile into my walk, I turned off onto a dirt road. My house was tucked away on a private plot, so the last leg of my journey meant winding through trees, dirt paths, and complete silence. As I turned, I heard the low hum of a motor coming from behind. Slow, steady, and creeping closer, down the stretch of paved road I had just left. I saw a white van moving along without its headlights on. That didn't seem too weird at first. There's this used car dealership in town that sells vehicles with busted parts, missing mirrors, broken headlights, you name it. I figured it was just one of those junky vans someone was test driving. Home, I kept walking, glancing back once or twice, until I heard a sudden engine roar behind me. The van's headlights snapped on, and it accelerated aggressively, charging toward the turn I had just taken. I flinched, but tried to keep calm. Maybe the driver was just goofing around. But as it neared the fork where the paved road met the dirt, the lights cut off again. The engine quieted. The van slowed. That's when the anxiety hit. I picked up my pace, fast walking deeper down the dark dirt road. The forest on either side swallowed the moonlight, and my footsteps on the gravel were the only sounds I could hear until I heard tires crunching behind me. I turned and saw the van creeping onto the dirt road, no lights, inching toward me, like it was hunting. My heart pounded. I didn't want to run, not yet, but when I looked back again and saw both the driver's and passenger's doors hanging open, I sprinted. I tore off down the road, heart racing, vision shaking. Then crack, a gunshot echoed through the woods. I ducked instinctively and veered off the road into the trees. I ran until I found a massive boulder and threw myself behind it, panting, frozen. That's when I heard a voicemail, gruff, maybe middle-aged, say, "I think she went into the woods." And then, worse, I heard what sounded like 3 young girls respond, one of them giggling as she said, "Okay, sir, I'll see if we can find her." My blood turned cold. I clamped my hand over my mouth, barely breathing. What the hell was this? A cult? Some psycho family? The man's voice came again. "Whoever finds her doesn't have to drink the blood tonight." I almost passed out. Stayed frozen behind that rock, every snap of a twig or whisper of leaves sending panic through my chest. I thought about my family. I thought about dying out there. Then dash sirens, real, blessed sirens. Red and blue lights flickered through the branches. I waited until I saw a cruiser pull up just outside the tree line. Then I bolted. I ran out, waving my arms, crying. The cops jumped out, calmed me down. But then one of them said, "Ma'am, do you know anything about this body?" I blinked, confused. What body? Then I saw it. A woman, young, naked, mutilated. Blood soaked the ground around her. No van in sight. I told the officers everything. The van, the man, the girls, the blood-drinking comment. They took notes, promised to look into it, and thankfully gave me a ride home. I couldn't sleep that night. Every sound outside made me flinch. Around 3 a.m., I looked out my window. The van was there, driving slowly past my house with its headlights off. This time, I had the sense to grab a pen and scribble down the license plate. I called the police immediately by the time they arrived. The van was gone, but what they told me chilled me to the core. We ran the plate. It's registered in South Dakota. But here's the weird thing. We've had 4 other precincts report a suspicious van with that same license plate, one in Vermont, one in Alaska, one in Nevada, and one in Texas. Tonight, they said they'd be in touch. They never called. I don't believe in ghosts, but I believe in evil, and whatever was in that van, it was organized, mobile, coordinated. I left Indiana shortly after. I've never felt safe since. But I did learn something that night. If you ever see a van driving slowly with no head, tonight's story isn't filled with monsters or haunted woods. It's something far more unnerving because it happened in a regular neighborhood, on a regular night, to 2 regular people. It's the kind of story that makes you check the locks twice. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more creepy tales like this one. Now, let's get into it. My wife and I live in a typical American suburb. Normal neighborhood, normal house, normal lives. I'd say we're the textbook image of what our parents raised us to be. 9-to-5 jobs, backyard barbecues, friendly neighbors. Nothing ever really happened around here until recently. Just the act of me sitting down to write this out says something. I'm not a writer. The last time I typed anything this long was a college paper. But after what happened that night, I've had this sick need to put it into words, even if no one believes me. It started like any other weekday. Gianna, my wife, and I decided to treat ourselves and go out to eat. We were back home by 9, teeth brushed, and in bed by 10. We usually shut the lights off at 11, either reading or watching a show together. That night, we had just gotten into the episode when the phone rang. Guy told me not to answer because, let's be honest, nothing good happens after 10, but I had a bad feeling. Emergency, maybe. I reached over to grab the landline, but the caller had already hung up. The caller ID was gone. That phone was ancient and barely worked. A few minutes later, it rang again. This time the screen said unknown number. That put me on edge. I still didn't answer. But not 30 seconds later, rang a third time. So I picked up. It was our neighbor, Al, only ... He didn't sound like himself. He asked, "Do you know there's a man standing outside your house?" And before I could even respond, he just hung up. I told Gianna what he said, and her face dropped. She told me not to go out there. I said, "I'd just check from the window." Pulled back the curtain, slowly nothing. No one, not even movement from the bushes. Still, I stepped out to the front stoop. It was quiet, eerily quiet. I scanned the sidewalk, the bushes, even down the street. Absolutely nothing. No sign of anyone. I walked back inside feeling weirdly annoyed at Al. Why would he mess with us like that? Back in bed, Gianna told me to call him. I did, but it went straight to voicemail. I left a message asking what that call was about. Before I even put the phone down, it rang again. "Unknown caller," I answered. Al's voice again, but slower, almost robotic. "Go outside. There's someone standing outside your house." Click, hung up again. I bolted out of bed and shouted, "What the hell is going on?" Gianna looked petrified. I told her to stay put and went back to the window. This time, there was someone. He was standing at the very edge of our front walkway, right where it met the street. He wore a hoodie pulled low, hiding his face in shadow, just standing there, perfectly still. I opened the door and stepped outside. "Can I help you?" I asked, but he didn't move. "I'm calling the police," I warned. Nothing, not even a twitch. Then the phone rang again. I ran back inside. This time the caller ID showed Al's number. I picked up and said, "Al, what is going on?" He sounded normal. "Hey, just got your voicemail." "What was that about?" I told him, "You just called me twice. You said, there was someone outside my house." He said, "What?" "No, I've been watching a movie with my wife. I didn't call you at all." Then, he added, "I don't see anyone outside your house from here." I ran back to the window. The hooded man was gone, vanished. I demanded to know if Al was playing some twisted joke, and he swore up and down he wasn't. He even put his wife on the phone. I did the same, let Gianna talk to both of them. We all sat there in this weird silence, not knowing what to make of it. All we could say was that someone had clearly been messing with us, somehow imitating Al's voice, calling us from what looked like his number. After we all hung up, I had to go downstairs again to hang up the other handset. I glanced outside one last time. Still no one, no movement, no sound. Just that strange tension lingering like a weight pressing on the house. Who or what called us, mimicking our neighbor's voice? Who stood outside our home that night, refusing to speak or move? We'll never know, but to this day, and I still look out the window every night before bed, just in case. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you've ever had something truly unexplainable happen to you, or something that made you question your own memory, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe for more eerie stories, and hit that bell so you don't miss the next one. Stay safe out there, and maybe double check who's calling before you answer.